Welcome everybody to another Horror Corner. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is JPOOL and I'm joined once again by my co-host LC.
Hello, everybody.
Tonight we are actually going to be talking about a really funny and it's a comedy horror. All right,
Yeah.
I think we
hmm
put the comedy a little bit first in the horror because
Right.
yeah,
It's
there
definitely
is
not
no.
scary.
I mean, depending, there are some jump scares in here, but it's like they're like trope scares for a
These
reason.
are, yeah, these are the type of movies that when I watch them, I don't think, like you said, put the comedy before horror. I don't think of this as a horror movie really at all, other than just kind of that meta way that it falls into the genre. But it makes me wonder. It's PG-13. It makes me wonder, do people are there people out there that would have a hard time, maybe not with this movie, but letting their kids watch this movie? Or because to me, this is fun for the whole family.
Yes, fun for the whole family, especially the first scene. It's fun for the whole family.
Aw.
Yeah. Yeah, mothers and daughters should watch this together, right? It's
Yeah,
a movie that brings together.
definitely. I've watched
Definitely.
this one with my daughter.
So yeah, the movie starts off. This movie is called The Final Girls. And it stars Thaisa from Nika. She's Vera Farmiga's sister.
American Horror Story fame,
Yeah,
Violet. Yeah, she's great. What a
the nun.
amazing. Well, how proud must their parents be?
Yes. The funny thing is, like, this was done in 2015, and
hmm
the older Thaisa gets, like, she's starting to look more like Vera Farmiga.
I
Like,
agree.
I mean, right here, like, your little zoomed in, like, screen right here, she looks really young. Like this is around, I think, American Horror Story time, so
Yeah.
she still looks really young. But like right now, she's like 31, and she's really starting to look like Vera,
Yeah, I wonder what I didn't look it up, but what the age difference between the two
like 20 years.
Formiga sisters. Really? Okay, that makes sense.
A lot of people actually thought, until they actually looked it up, that Vera was the mom. They're like,
hmm
"Oh, mother and daughter in the same business." It's like, no, they're sisters. They're sisters.
Yeah, definitely. I probably was one of those individuals that thought that. 20 years makes sense for sure.
Yeah. This also has Malin Ackerman. If you have ever seen Watchmen,
Yeah, I love her. She's great.
yeah. Adam Devine. Uh,
Who is amazing in this?
yes.
I can't watch his character in this movie and not bust up laughing. Yeah, he's great. I feel like he kind of usually plays more of uh, the nice guy in most movies. So this particular character for him is pretty fun to watch.
I mean, he's played a jerk before. He's pretty much a jerk in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
We have Middleditch. I think that's how you say his name. Aaliyah Shawkat. I like her. The
I
wives.
like her too.
Yeah. Arrested Development. She's really
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
good. Alexandra Ludwig, and we have Nina Dobrev. I watched basically everything that is Vampire Diaries, includes all
Ah, okay.
the spin-offs as well.
Yeah, definitely Vampire Diaries. She was in a fun kind of holiday movie a couple of years ago as well that I think went right to Netflix. And Thomas Middleditch, he was in the Zombieland movies. He played the doppelganger character in those.
Yeah, yeah.
I kept getting
Uh,
you say it, Aaliyah Shawkat. I kept getting her confused with the actress in Before Dawn, but that's not the same actress,
no,
correct?
that's not the same actress.
Yeah, they have a similar look.
Yeah, and this movie reminds me a lot of, and I'm going to basically kind of spoil some of the main plot, not main plot, but really like the twist. Have you ever seen Last Action Hero?
I feel like I have, but it's been a minute.
So in the movie, the kid has a magic ticket, and as he's watching his favorite action movie that stars
It's
Arnold
Arnold, right?
Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
yeah, it stars
Hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. The ticket starts glowing, and uh, dynamite flies through the screen and at him, and to get away, he starts running away and running into the screen, and he wakes up and he's in the movie.
Hmm. Yep. Very
Yep,
similar.
very similar. The question I have is everybody in that theater dead?
Yeah, yeah, this was a little bit, not a magic ticket, but, a series of unfortunate events. The guy, everybody has had a run-in with a guy at the movie theater that you can hear him cracking, cans of beer or whatever. This particular guy's got his bottle of vodka. He accidentally drops, and simultaneously as the bottle rolls down, another guy who's smoking in the theater drops an ash and catches the entire theater on fire. A little, I think I would have preferred the magic ticket.
Yeah, I think somebody was playing Final Destination and they're probably the next, target.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sorry, my cat is appearing in my camera, so if you see her like right behind me,
No, that's she wants to get in on the action.
get out of the action. So the movie actually starts off with this sort of mother-daughter dynamic. Um, the daughter is, she's waiting for her mom. She plays a character named Max. She's waiting for her mom at this sort of like this strip mall.
Paul.
We don't know exactly what's going on, until she
Hmm.
like, gets back in the car and we realize that her mom is going in for an audition in this kind of stingy part of town.
Hmm.
It doesn't look like she's got it.
Yeah,
Um,
bummed out.
yeah, bummed out, and every time she tries to bring up, some of the later credits, they always go back to the thing apparently that she's most famous for. Dancing and
Camp. Mhm.
stripping on screen.
Camp Bloodbath.
And Bloodbath, the cold classic. It's
Hmm.
sad too because I've run into so many actors that they want to talk about some of their latest stuff. It may not be very
Hmm.
popular, but they're actors. They want to talk about maybe they went to theater afterwards. And they want to talk about some of that stuff. It all
Hmm.
comes back to some of the the really popular stuff. Sometimes when they were really young,
Yeah,
and
that's
they
a
hear it hundreds of times at every convention.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's face it, a lot of actors get their start in slasher or horror flicks. It's a good breakout place for young actors to make it in the biz. So, I for those of us that love the genre, we love to talk about it and, fawn all over those particular roles. But for, more serious actors, sometimes those are, not the most respected and they do get kind of typecast from time to time. So that's definitely the situation with Amanda is her mom's name in the movie.
Yeah, played by Malin Ackerman,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, and they've got a great connection in this scene too.
yeah, they do. As the daughter's waiting, she's watching, Camp Bloodbath with her mom and they're on her phone. And, I guess they're heading back home and they get in a horrible car accident. Um, the budget's not very high on this one, so the effects aren't super, well done, but it is kind of like it happens out of nowhere type of like car
Yeah.
accident.
Hmm.
And I've seen
Catches
so
you off
many
guard.
nasty car accidents right in front of me before. So
Ugh.
I've seen rolls like
Yeah.
accidents that roll like that. It's kind of disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it hits you. It kind of comes out of, as they do. It comes out of nowhere, but kind of in they're having a fun moment, and then, something horrendous happens, and it that kind of jolts you into the movie. I feel like, to your point about the effects in this movie, I not yeah, not great. There's a lot of you can when you watch it with that eye, you can see how they cut certain scenes so that they could go a little bit on the cheap and still make it effective. But there are a lot of scenes in this movie that I think where they did use their budget, they made it count, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
But we'll talk about those as they come up.
yeah, definitely. So we cut to 3 years later, and it's on the anniversary of Amanda's. So Amanda, she died, but Max survived. Thais' character, and it's the anniversary of her mother's death, but also there is a special feature to honor her. A Camp
A
Bloodbath of 1 and 2,
marathon.
marathon of 1 and 2, even though she was only in one.
Yeah, that figures. I love this. You obviously know that based on how the conversation that mother daughter had prior to the accident, and then this quick lead up into this. It's about the last thing that Max wants to have anything to do with. But Duncan, best friend Duncan, of course, he's all about it, and wants Max to attend for some publicity, so she gets roped into it.
Yeah, I mean, because inviting the daughter of Nancy,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
character in the movie.
And Mac, yeah, or Duncan seems like kind of an asshole in this moment, but I had to think, when I'm like, watching this again, God, this guy, he should cut her a break. And then I'm thinking about myself. I'm like, he's pretty much just like me, and would I would probably be trying to do the same thing if it was my friend whose mother would. I know, but come and be a part of this marathon. It's going to be great. Everybody would love to have you there. He's a cinematography nerd, so.
No, he's a big cinephile nerd,
Mhm.
and you can
Mhm.
tell that he's seen his movie almost to the point where he knows, the script verbatim.
Scene by scene, which is
Scenes
helpful.
by scene by scene, which is helpful what comes next. So, um, they're at the theater, and we were getting back to what we were saying earlier about there's a horrible accident that takes place in the auditorium where where they're showing the movie, and the place lights up, really fast too. Like that
Mm.
place, there's
Yeah,
some.
it's a tinderbox.
It feels like there's some Ursa violations in that whole
Right.
theater because they're unable to exit. The people are trying to get out of the theater. Um, yeah, like I said, we're talking about Final Destination. It's sort of a
Mhm.
Final Destination situation because everybody's trapped in this auditorium and it's lighting up. It looks like a scene from Inglourious Bastards at the very end.
Mhm. Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
it must be the old carpeted seats, old theater carpeted seats.
they still smell a little bit, but you're gonna still sit in it
Ugh.
anyway because the movie's only three
Mm.
bucks. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so Max and her friends are freaking out. They're trying to find a way out. They're like, "There's got to be an exit somewhere." It's like, "Is there an exit behind the screen?" He's like, "Yeah, there's an exit." So they tear through the screen, and as they're cutting through the screen, this light starts shining at them. They don't care, where it's coming from. They just want to get behind the screen and see if they can find an exit. And they go through, and they end up waking up to the forest. Well, before that, they turn around and they realize that no one is able to get out of the theater.
Bye.
So they're basically like, okay, well, at least we can just try to save ourselves. And so they go to the screen and they wake up in the forest and they start to, question how did we get here? We were in the
Mhm.
theater.
They've broken through.
They've broken through, but it doesn't feel real to them. You like,
Mhm.
yes, they were in the theater and they're in the forest, but the forest doesn't feel like real life to them until
Maybe
yeah,
maybe one too many overly colored flowers like in the backdrop
yeah,
behind my head.
yeah.
Just a
But
little too on the nose.
it also looks a little too clean, I think, for
Mhm.
them. And they are then met by a van that
Beat a bus.
yeah, that keeps going through the same path and then repeating over and over again. What was it? Every like 52 minutes or something like that, or 92 minutes. 92 minutes. Yeah, it's just this time loop that they keep going around and around and around, asking, where's the camp?
And now
And
they know.
And now they know. And after a few times, they basically come up with a story that they can't counselors and they need to ride.
Mhm.
Do
And
you know
this
the
is
next
where,
one?
well, yeah, this is this is where we get to meet the counselors in the movie, which we already talked about Adam Devine's character, and he's just he really is. He makes this movie for me. He and his fellow camp counselor Tina, who is our classic sort of dumb bimbo of the slasher films. She's played by an actress, Angela Trimber, who she's done some television. And I also read that she is a dance instructor, which probably came in quite helpful later on in this movie. And then, of course, Max notices that her mother is in the back seat playing the character Nancy. So, of course, there's instantly this moment of, recognition and kind of protectiveness that occurs. But they, now they're all camp counselors driving to, um, I'm trying to remember the name of the actual camp because, of course, it's not Bloodbath. I think it has bird or something in the name, but they head to the camp, and now the fun begins. So they get out there, and Kurt, being the amazing human that he is, takes the keys and throws them into the forest. Everybody's eager to get away from the camp because all of these folks that were at the movies, they know what's coming, so they run into the woods to try and grab the keys, and they hear that infamous. It's not exactly like Friday the 13th, but it might as well be the ch ch ch.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like they're skirting as close to copyright as they can.
Absolutely, they're dancing on that line. So they then proceed to watch a whole scene where a couple basically gets taken out by the killer, and that's where they first kind of encounter the movie to see if of course they already are interacting with these other camp counselors, but now they're interacting with the killer Billy, and there's this moment that's really great where Duncan, he's like, nah, we're cool. We're not gonna get taken out. We're separate from the movie. We're not part of it. And I think he goes to take a selfie. He right when you think that he's going to be safe, he takes a machete to the side, which I will say not my favorite kill. It's a little. This is one of those scenes where you're like, yeah, not the best effects here. It's kind of a little bit of a lame kill. Um, but it kind of came out of nowhere, and of course now all the counselors know. I think the scene behind me is actually from that moment.
It is from that
Um,
moment. They start to
yeah.
realize that they actually can die.
Oh, yep. So everybody runs back to the lodge, and now they're starting to figure out we've got to save ourselves. We've got to wait for the actual final girl to come into this flick, whose name is Paula, and I don't recall who plays Paula. She's not in a lot of the movie, but she rolls up in her Firebird, looking '80s badass, and proceeds to have a very small amount of time in this flick before basically um, they have her running for her life trying to get out of the camp. But before that happens, we get a really great scene with my buddy Kurt. Max, knowing the plot of the movie by heart, tries to save her mom's character by running up into one of the bedrooms where there's going to be a sex scene between her mom and Kurt. And there's just the dialogue. And this is a great movie, too, because at the end of it, it's got the outtakes during the credits.
Yeah,
And it feels like Adam Devine's doing a lot of riffing in this movie, which must have just been great.
I think he does that
But
just
he
regularly in almost all the movies he does.
yeah, he's hilarious. But he's being a classic '80s kind of jock pig, just saying a bunch of crap, and they see Billy coming up. They I think it's Gertie spots him out the window, and that's when we have one of the coolest scenes where we have Nancy, Max's mom's character in the movie. She starts telling Billy's origin story, and you get this cool flashback drop where you get this sort of slow gel dissolve from the ceiling, and it's when you start really seeing these meta moments of the film, them being kind of stuck in the movie, which they later on use to their benefit to try and stop some of the killing scenes. But yeah, we find out Billy. It reminded me a little bit of oh goodness, what is that? Is it Sleepaway Camp? Kind of the same story. Kid gets picked on and winds up getting burnt by some bully camp goers in the 50s, and that's how we get Billy as the murderous slasher killer in this flick.
Are you saying that
So
they find out that he's not actually a girl?
one of the thank you, one of the
Have you
best
met her
endings
before?
ever.
Have you ever met her
I
before?
haven't.
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't.
yeah. So she has she has a couple of things she bought later in life that makes her really popular with the guys.
Oh,
Um,
fair.
she's actually really funny. But anyway, she's actually been to what was that horror
To
store
one of the
here
cons.
in the East Valley?
Oh,
Okay.
um,
Um,
yeah,
I think that's starting to be
it
named.
is. Pulling it up. Wow, no commercialization on this podcast.
Yeah,
Sponsor us. A horror trade? Is it horror trader?
yeah, horror trader. She's
Okay.
a horror
Yeah.
trader and she's done other horror conventions. She hasn't done. I don't think she's done that monster yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you ever get a chance to meet her, she's cool.
So for people that are like, what? that that's the spoiler for the movie Sleepaway Camp, which yeah, you find out that
You're like,
things are
dang it,
very much not as
okay.
they seem.
Yeah,
I watched that not that long ago, and I was like, "Whoa, it's been a minute. I totally forgot this movie." Um, but yeah, so now everybody, knows we've got a killer on the loose, and this is when Paul is like, "I'm out of here. The final girl. She's getting out. She's not about to face down this killer." Which is really going to throw everything into a tizzy because that's not the way this movie is supposed to go. So
yeah,
she jumps in her
you're not scared.
Firebird. She jumps in her Firebird, and of course, Kurt jumps in with her, and more great dialogue where he's like, "We got to get out of here. Maybe we could go to a motel and see where where things might lead us." Um, but this is just one of the best series, I think, of the movie, these next few scenes, because they go to take off out of the camp, and who should come back but our friend Duncan, who actually isn't dead, but gets plowed down immediately by the Firebird. I think it's a Firebird. It's some Camaro, something of that nature. And now they're really freaking out. And as Kurt's screaming, they run right into a totem pole. And this is one of those moments where I think, again, the effects are pretty good. This looks CGI, obviously, but it's still kind of a fun moment. You get Kurt flying through the windshield in almost a full backwards U shape. He lands on the ground, kind of skids out, and all of the Max and all of her friends are watching this all go down, and they're like, "Paula, oh no! Well, Paula, she made it!" And then, of course, Paula's car burst into flames, and so now the final girl's dead. So where do you go from here?
Yeah, the movie's ruined.
The movie's ruined. But wait, is there another virgin? Of course, there's another virgin. They do a quick rundown, right? Who slept with who. Everybody has to tell all their secrets. We find out that nope, Gertie's not a virgin. Of course, Nina's character isn't a virgin, and we find out, of course, Max is, and so she's gonna have to save the day.
It's always the virgins that have to save
It's
the day.
always the virgins. It's this having a horror movie kind of about horror movies. Certainly, this isn't. in the same realm as Scream, but I like that you have a lot of those same just general discussions around tropes, like with the Scream movies. It's just fun to have people in a horror movie talk about horror movies and how these things go. Um,
In
but
well,
now
in,
we get
well, in a
in a
movie.
movie, right? Well, I guess Scream was the original meta horror movie, right?
Oh yeah, that's super
Um,
meta. But like this movie
yeah,
is in the sense of like they're not just being meta about like horror movie tropes. They are in the actual movie themselves experiencing those tropes.
right. This is where I think the action really starts picking up. This is where the movies really starts to get good. And this is where we have Tina's best scene. Tina, the everybody's favorite bimbo. She's kind of the ditzy, hot chick. She gets a hold of Vicky's Adderall, and fun ensues. They're trying to they set a trap for Billy, and they are going to use Tina as bait, and they've layered her up with clothes originally to try and protect her from the killer, because that's how she gets taken out, right? She strips and the killer comes after her. So she's got oven mitts on. I think she's got a life vest on. She is decked out. But now they decide they're going to have to take Billy out. So you've got this amazing, erratic Adderall strip tease to Warrant's cherry pie. And it is epic. Another one of my favorite moments of the movie. But unfortunately, Tina doesn't make it much longer after this, which brings in another one of my favorite kill scenes. Um, what was your favorite kill scene of the movie?
Uh, because they were all fun. I think I think the totem pole is, I think it was more of like in the funny sort of like,
Mm,
oh, that's, it had nothing to do with Billy
right.
being Billy. It was more of just a Duncan out of nowhere, and it's like
Mm,
they're all dead. They
so good.
accidentally killed Duncan because he was in the way.
I think his last words are, "Hey guys, I'm not dead," and then they plow him over.
Oh no, but no, but the Tina's death scene was interesting as well, and um, they're all trying to fight Billy as well. We lose a few more characters as well
Yeah,
because of that.
Tina gets it head first in a bear trap, which
Yeah,
it's climactic yet anticlimactic after she does her ridiculously amazing dance. But yeah, we've got this really started to remind me of I think it was the second Friday the 13th. Was it the second Friday the 13th where you have the barn scene?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. I mean,
Yeah,
I just have to go back.
they all run together. I want to say it's the second because it's the burlap sack Friday the 13th, which is
Oh, you're
pre
talking about
pre hockey mess.
are you talking about um the revival, the reboot one?
No, 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 no,
Okay,
the
okay,
original.
okay, the original.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
but they're trying to bail out. They're all trying to get away from Billy. We've got some fire explosions. That's one of the scenes where I felt like, okay, well they got their point across with the effects, but um, to your point earlier, not a super high budget. So you
yeah,
get some moments where things happen, and it's left up to interpretation. You don't actually see the moment when things happen. Um, but yeah, eventually we wind up, with basically just um, we've got Max and Nancy, which is her mother, and Chris left. Chris is injured. They're in a church, I believe. Church, right? Which is The must be the camp chapel.
Yeah,
Most camps have a church? Question mark. I don't know. I didn't go to summer camp. Um,
depends on the
but
summer.
yeah, debate. True, true. Um, so yeah, there's actually a really good scene too where um, they start running and they're running in slow motion. And they're like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "Oh, we're in slow motion." Um, and they're about to get caught, and Nancy launches them back into the flashback, which is kind of cool. Now they're using the original movie's effects to their own devices to try and escape. But we eventually wind up having them back at this church, and Chris knows Max wants to see her mother, and tries to remind her, "Hey, we're in a movie. I know you want to see her make it out of this thing, but this isn't the way that it goes." Um, and this, we talked a little bit about. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we talked a little bit about these final scenes and Nancy's character knowing that she's not the virgin, so she's going to have to sacrifice herself in order to get down to the final girl, because you can't have a final girl if there's other girls left.
True.
Um, so she starts dancing, and she's dancing to the same song, the 80s Kim Carnes hit Betty Davis Eyes, which is the song that was playing in the car originally when they had the accident at the beginning of the movie. And it's, we were talking about it's a little bit of an emotional scene. Um, there's definitely some feels that you get. Well, at least I think both of us got. And I actually read that part of the reason that it's a little bit more emotional is the screenwriter actually had lost his mother and wrote that in, which I hadn't known until researching this for this particular record. So yeah, it is a little emotional. And Nancy winds up getting taken out, and you've got the final girl scene.
Yeah. Uh, that scene, go back just a little bit. That scene with Malin Academy and Paris Formiga. Um, you get all this, fun, horror, and campy stuff going on through the film, and then you get very serious, like a
Hmm.
very serious and, in my opinion, well acted scene between both of them, between Max and Nancy. And Nancy at the time is just looking at her as maybe just another character in the movie, but then all of a sudden it comes to the realization that like uh, she sees her as her mother,
Hmm.
and uh, basically saying that wherever she is, basically she's proud of you,
Yeah.
uh, because you know Max wants to save her, and she's like, you know, you can. I want you to live. Let me die. It's not really supposed to be the other way around
Hmm.
in a
Right.
sense. Parents don't want to bury their children.
Right.
Um, they would rather sacrifice themselves than anything. It's just a
Right.
very emotional scene. I think for any parent, you're a parent. I'm not a
Hmm.
parent.
Yeah.
And you love your children, right?
Of course. I
Most
Yes, mostly.
most days,
Most days.
most days. I think most parents love their children, and they would sacrifice themselves if they could to save their lives. And
Yeah.
even though this is a character in the film that is not actually her mother, but the character, the way she turns around and looks at her, knowing that she's about to die, it's almost like that glimpse of her mom staring back at her, which actually brought tears to my eyes the first time I saw this movie. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And you've got, Max looking at her like she's now going to have to basically relive this all over again. You never really see the aftermath of the car accident, what happened exactly when the movie starts, but she was the witness to her mom being in that car accident, and once again she's got to bear witness to her mom getting taken down, and it's got to be pretty rough. I watched this movie originally. I came across one of my streaming services, and I just picked it up and watched it, and I loved it. And when I was sharing with you, my family goes out to cabins a lot, and I always make everybody watch horror movies whenever we go to these cabins in the woods. And this was one that I picked out one time just to have a little bit of fun with it. And my daughter and I actually wound up watching it, and it's rough, you know. It's funny, and it's got all the fun tropes of a horror movie. It's got a lot of really great moments in it where it's pretty clever the way that they design several things. But this piece is pretty emotional, and it was interesting when you said you sent me a message and said, yeah, I remember seeing that scene, and I teared up a little bit, and I immediately knew what scene you were talking about. Um, and when I was looking at all of this and noted the screenwriter actually was going through his own loss at the time of writing this, I'm like, okay, well that makes sense because it definitely takes a much different tone for the movie. And I thought it was nice because a lot of movies, especially movies like this that are more on the fun side, if they have something that kicks off the movie in a big way, like the car accident scene in this, a lot of times they don't really play back into it. It's
Yeah,
just the thing that happened that makes the rest of the movie start. And the fact that they come back to it, it makes this movie quite a bit different from other movies of its kind of fun sub genre of comedy horror.
exactly. And with what happened with her, the car accident, um, it sort of indicates that she never really got to say goodbye to her mother, and she gets a chance here to say goodbye, and that's in my opinion that makes the scene even more powerful. For people who haven't had a chance to even say goodbye to their parents, wouldn't you love to go back and you know tell them that you love them before they go? There's a scene. I don't know if you ever watched Young Sheldon or The Big Bang Theory. Um,
I've seen episodes here and there, but I haven't watched it enough to really know any of the episodes.
so Young Sheldon, he's autistic. He has he has issues dealing with people, even all the way when he's just a little boy. And when he was younger in his teens, he lost his father. I think to like a heart attack or something like that.
Okay.
But he went to work. He was a football coach. He went to work one day and said goodbye to everybody. And Sheldon didn't say a thing.
Aw.
And and as an adult, he looks back and wishes that he had said something. I mean, he holds all these scenarios in his head that he said, "I love you," or "have a good day," or anything else like that. But he didn't say a thing. And it's those situations where you wish that just to comfort them, knowing that you cared for them, or you wish them a good day, on their last day. And in this case, Max got to see her mom one last time
Yeah.
and say
Yeah.
goodbye and tell her how
It's
much she loved
it's it's such a great moment because it is you said it was, powerful acting, and I agree with that. But it's so when you break it down for us to be talking about it, we could say, yeah, and then, she's dancing to Betty Davis Eyes, and she's
him.
doing a strip tease, and she keeps looking back at her. It sounds very trite. It sounds, very comical. But it is, there's some good stare acting. There's a lot of emotion in the faces of the two characters as they kind of go through this scene. Um, yeah, it's definitely a moment. I thought it was pretty interesting to learn that we weren't the only ones that were moved by this apparently, and it was sort of by design.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but then we have the final moment for the final girl, right?
yeah,
Um, it's so, uh, you know, over the top in the way that an 80s slasher would be, right? You've got silhouettes, black silhouettes against lightning, purple sky, and you've got Billy the Killer versus Max, and now she's a badass.
Yeah.
Now
She gets
she's
all strength back. She was stabbed earlier, so
yeah.
we didn't get into that,
Hmm.
but she was actually stabbed. So she was
Oh yeah.
dying.
But no longer.
Yes, no longer
Now
because
it
she's the final girl.
Yeah, well, and now she's probably pissed too because she had to watch her mom get taken out. So
Fucked
she
with a wrong
grabs
virgin.
yeah, that's the line. You fucked with the wrong virgin. So she grabs the machete and she, goes after him in this great exaggerated scene where you've got, just a great kind of uh a fight scene where you're dodging blows and kind of matrixy a little bit, but really fun. And at the end, which they alluded to when they talked about the movie before going into the movie, at the end, Max beheads Billy. And this is another one of my favorite scenes of the movie where you have that meta kick in. But Chris comes out and all of a sudden the credits start rolling behind them as day breaks, which is really kind of a cool scene. I'm glad that they had the wherewithal to add that. It's kind of fun. Um, and they, hold on to one another as the film gets all the way through the credits and starts to rewind in this kind of crazy way. And they wake up, much like the original Friday the 13th, they wake up in the hospital. Um, and they're next to one another, and their friends start to walk in, and you start to get this kind of eerie feeling that something doesn't look right. And this is another great moment because what do you see? What's the telltale? It's a Rubik's Cube sitting out, and a Mugwai doll, and a tab soda, and they realize we're in a sequel.
Very secret.
Just we're in a sequel.
They got a,
Um,
they got a bigger budget.
yeah, right, right. Well, and speaking of budgets, because I think you now know that's one of my favorite things, and so now I've started to always look it up. Um, did you see what the budget was for this film?
Oh yeah, $4.5 million, and I think it went mostly into that storm.
Well, and did you see what they made?
Uh, this page is not actually showing how much they made, but
Yeah, well, I if what I read is correct. Now it was a limited release.
yeah,
Um, I read $33,000.
oof,
Gulp.
a dope.
Which is probably why, a lot of people, kind of find out about this movie from hearing from someone else who watched it or just kind of, passing through some horror genre on your streaming and it getting served up to you. Yeah, 4.5 million and a $33,000 take. I would love it if somebody tells me that's wrong, but
I need to.
uh,
They need a sequel of this one, in my opinion. I would love to see what happens to them afterwards. And
oh
um,
yeah,
I mean, I believe I don't think we ever reviewed Paranormal Activity. You know how much that actually cost?
no,
That cost
no.
$13,000 to make.
Oh
13.
wow, okay.
They made over $110 million at the box office.
With the first one, not to mention the fact that, of course they had how many sequels is that on? Five or six now?
5 or 6 different sequels.
Yeah,
The first one will always be the one that everyone goes back to, going like, it was only
yeah.
13 grand to make. It was the
That's
director's house
crazy.
and everything,
Mhm.
and basically they paid what the actors like $500 to $600, and then the movie sat
Mhm.
on the shelf for a little while until it was an on-demand film,
Oh wow.
and then by word of mouth, it spread out, and at the end of its box office, it was over $110 million.
That's crazy.
That is several times more. I forgot how many times that was. $13,000, and then they made 110 million. That was,
That movie scared me so bad when I watched it too for the
yeah.
first time.
It's such a simple concept, Not much in
Mhm.
the way of like special effects or anything like that. You
Mhm.
know, maybe some strings pulling things around, but it's just yeah. And here, like it just didn't get enough, word of mouth. It was I think it premiered at South by Southwest,
Mhm.
and it's one of those movies you look back and go like it's a funny. It has
Mhm.
an emotional part at the end, um, and but it definitely needs more in the way of word of mouth. It's like if you see
Yeah.
this streaming service, at least check it out, especially if you like
Yeah.
these.
It reminds me a little bit of when I first encountered Trick or Treat, which we'll get to ratings in a second, and of course, that's that movie is one of my highest rated. But um, oftentimes, when you come across movies just through streaming that you haven't heard of, they're not great. This is a really good flick. It didn't have a terrible. I think it was, in the upper 70s Rotten Tomatoes. As soon as I read that 33,000, I went a little bit on a squirrel hunt trying to figure out, wow, did I really see that? And I started looking at, various review sites, and it didn't get panned by any means. Most people who reviewed it thought it was, a fun take, a different take. Um, and it's got, like we talked about, it's got some really great scenes in it. The Adderall strip scene for the win. Some fun kind of, if you're, a child of the 80s, there's a lot of fun throwback references. There's a moment when Nancy says something about saving herself for George Michael that I thought was pretty cute.
Yeah,
Max kind of looks at her like, ugh, I hate to break it to you. But yeah, it definitely is a really fun movie, and I feel like 33,000. I don't know how streaming services, how that you probably have a much better idea than I do. Um, what the royalties are, how that pays out, but I encourage everybody to gift a little bit more to the the
it depends.
cause here.
It depends on the contract each actor. They had to take a lot of these actors probably had to take a pay cut from this film.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think was it Thaisa didn't have much in the credits at the time.
Hmm.
I think this is around the time, if I remember correctly, of American Horror Story. But still, she wasn't
Hmm.
a really huge actress around this time.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a bit of a breakout for a lot of these. I feel like the character Chris, I think he was Hunger Games, and then of course Nina was Vampire Diaries. But yeah, this was a pretty fresh cast at the time, so um, yeah, uh, good movie for sure. So, do you want to give your rating, or do you want me to go first?
I want you to go first. Yeah.
All right. Um, I I love a fun horror movie. I sometimes every year, sometimes every year I plummet myself into a really bad state. By the time October gets over, it starts beginning of September, which I, look at as pre-Halloween, and I watch the worst movies for 61 days straight and probably then some, sometimes two a night. And having some of these types of movies, I just really enjoy them because I need to break up what I'm watching a little bit when you're watching that much dark stuff. Um, so it's a super fun movie. We've talked about a lot of the scenes that I really like. I think not a big budget, but it does a good job with the money that it did have for the effects, and it moves pretty fast. It's a pretty quick flick from start to end. I don't remember what the exact screening time was, but
91
uh,
minutes.
90, yeah. So it's not a super long movie. Um, I think it's a fun one if you have, a teenage or tween kids. It's something fun to watch with them too. I give this movie a 5, and I know that feels kind of low, and but
The five. The five.
I give it a 5. But I love this movie. I really do. It's just it's not, you're not going to walk away going, oh my gosh, that was one of the best movies I ever saw. But I've seen this movie probably about 4 times now too. So um, can't give it super high ratings just because it's a pretty kind of cheap budget flick. But I do love it for the it's a strong it's a 5.5,
Okay.
and I
All right.
picked this one.
Yeah, you picked this one. That's good.
How
That's
about
good.
you?
So this movie, directed by Todd Strauss Schulson, I forgot to say who the director was in here. Um, I thought he did a fair job with what he was given, especially with the budget he was given.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the special effects aren't great, but when you have a budget of $4.5 million, you do what you can.
Right.
With some of the studios today, some of the smaller horror studios, they give the director like $10, $20 million, and they say that's all you get. Do something with
Right.
it. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, if they have a good enough director and writer, and producer, they'll do something with it. In this case, they have, like I was saying earlier, they have sort of a last action hero type of situation where, they
Mm-hmm.
put real life characters into a movie, and in this case, a movie genre, not an action uh, genre, but a horror genre. And beyond that, it's a 80s campy camp
Mm-hmm.
horror genre.
Mm-hmm. The best.
Yes, where you really can't take anything too seriously because everyone's not acting seriously. Everybody, you have to kill everyone that has had sex, and the
Mm.
person to survive is the person that is a virgin. And I'm sorry, but Paula did not look like a virgin.
You're right.
I know that's like stereotyping people, but when you look at her, you're going like, a virgin,
Mm.
really?
She's a
Okay,
badass.
come on.
Yeah, she rolled in leather, if I remember correctly. Some piercings, maybe. She was a real badass.
Yes. Like, I'm a badass and I'm a virgin. Why? It's like, because
Hmm.
I'm the kind of person I want to be with. Like, no, you're not a virgin.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. She's certainly not our Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
Exactly. She doesn't look innocent. I'm sorry. She's not
Mm.
like Britney Spears. I'm not that innocent.
Actually, I'm having a moment. Do you mind if I interrupt for one quick
Oh,
second?
there you go.
I'm having a moment because I'm thinking about how we talked about. I instantly went to Jamie Lee Curtis with Halloween as our original final girl, but we talked about Black Christmas actually being the original slasher.
Yes.
The original final girl was not a virgin
Nope.
because that was half of the story of that movie of Black Christmas was how she wasn't a virgin. Ah,
Yes.
you've broken the wall.
Well, it wasn't a wall, like before the wall was actually created.
Right, exactly.
And
Exactly.
then the tropes, I think, afterwards, but they took a lot of tropes from Black Christmas and put it in
Mhm.
the whole genre afterwards. But
Right.
yeah, it's kind of interesting going backwards. Like you said in an earlier review, that a lot of people take Friday the 13th or even Halloween and make them sort of like the grandfather of slasher films, when Black Christmas actually is older than them. So
Right. Right. And possibly specifically seeded the idea for Halloween.
exactly.
All
And
right.
for this film, like there's like a roller coaster of emotions. You go from like ha 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 to like some jump scares to like really clever kills, and then we get to the end. And went on about this scene, and I could actually go on for a little while about this scene. Between the mother and the daughter, or at least the character, Nancy and Max, and uh, the thing also really got me was when she turned back around to look at Max, basically telling her it's okay.
Mhm.
She knows what's about to happen,
Yeah.
but also realizing that Max has already been through this before. She's seen her mother die,
Mhm.
and wants to show her that it's okay. You can let me go.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, it go all those roller coasters of emotions, and you get to that scene and it gets very serious. Um,
Hmm.
that's actually probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. I don't know. I get
Yeah,
really like I
I
love
agree.
that type of like drama type of stuff for me, even in horror. When it gets to
Hmm.
that scene where they actually are expressing their feelings, and it's no longer about like, oh, we're scared of something coming after us, kill us or anything. It's more of like a human moment because
Right.
they're actually
Which you, yeah, which you rarely get in a
yeah,
movie like this.
exactly. And I really appreciated they wrote that in, especially with the creator of the film. What happened? Was it with their mother losing her?
Yeah, it was screenwriter M.A. Fortin he wrote the film as a way to process his grief after his own mother had passed away. So for him, that's the reason, which I think is why it comes across, so powerful. Everything else is kind of written around it, it sounds like. Other slasher movies, this is a slasher comedy, but other movies, when you have those kind of emotional scenes, it's not what the movie wasn't written for those scenes. It was written for everything else. So it always comes across pretty, um, you know, not great acting, I'll say.
Exactly. And then you get a scene that's actually like great acting, and it comes out of left field, and you're like, where
Right.
did this come from? Like
Right.
did like another writer write this scene or something like that? It's like you
Hmm.
get to completely segue really quickly. You get like a scene like the intro to Superman Returns, the whole like plane sequence. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah.
And then you get the rest of the movie, and you're like, wait a minute, the intro of that movie is so much better than the rest of the movie. You find out that actually it was actually separate people that worked on the rest of the movie compared to the
Oh,
beginning
I didn't
part of
know
the
that.
movie. Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
then yeah, so in this case, it was the same people all throughout, and but you get this like scene that just seems so left field,
Hmm.
with emotion and dialogue and everything else like that. And I personally appreciated it. Um,
Hmm.
which will give me a rating right here. I'll give it a six, because it does show you the tropes of horror films, and we've seen it over and over again. We talked about how Scream does it, but in this
Hmm.
case, they are in a they're in a film.
Right.
They're real human beings that have been thrown into a movie, and they are trying to navigate it by their knowledge of how a horror movie works. And when it
Hmm.
doesn't work the way it's supposed to go, they have to, like figure something out, differently.
Right.
So, especially with the final girl who just decided to run off, it's like, wow, she became a wimp afterwards. And decided I don't want to die. I've died
Yeah.
every, like, but she's never died, before. But it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna run now.
Hmm.
Um, so
Maybe she knew. Maybe to your point, maybe she wasn't a virgin.
yeah, but yeah, that's my rating. I give it a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed this film. I thought that this is like I said, this is a good film for I think mothers and daughters to watch if they love this type of genre. There's nothing. There's no romance here. There's
No.
no special treatment of some of the characters. It's more of the relationship between mother and daughter, and um, that she gets to see her mother again, even if it's a character that she played in a film.
Yeah. It's funny too because I oftentimes tell my daughter when she is not completely made up, she reminds me a lot of Thaisa. I do not remind her at all of Malin Ackerman. But it makes it a little bit more difficult too for me to watch when I do watch this movie because I can't get over how much my daughter does look like her. So it's like it makes it a little bit more I don't know, more emotional to think about those kind of moments. But it's got a lot of really great fun laughs, good laughs, kind of, typical characters that really bring the movie through. Even Nina's character, she plays exactly who we know in these movies, that, rude, mean, popular, hot chick. So it's just a really good. I think it's really well done. And again, gave it a strong five, 5.5. But I've watched this movie I think 4 times now, and I'm sure I'll watch it 4 more times before I am not the final girl in my own movie. So
Exactly. And I watched this on Amazon Prime, so you can check that out. I don't know if it's on what is that whole streaming service?
Shutter.
Is
I
it on?
don't think it is. I don't think it is. I actually own it on Amazon Prime. I've bought it in the past, so
Okay,
proof proof that I'll watch it again. But yeah, I feel like I saw it on maybe Peacock or Paramount or one of those recently too. So look
okay,
around for it.
yeah,
It's
look
definitely
around.
worth it.
Definitely, yeah, definitely a watch for. Even if you just watch it once, it's an enjoyable film, and I don't think you'll be disappointed afterwards. In fact, you might even tell your friends about it. So,
Please do. thirty-three
me too.
thousand dollars.
Yeah, have to go down. I know it's like, what is it? Oh my goodness. This movie is like 11 years old now?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 11
yeah.
years old now.
2015.
Yeah,
Send Thaisa a 50-cent check.
yes. Those streaming checks are really hard to get these days. Unless you're part of like the Actors Guild
Mm,
and you have like a special, percentage you get
yeah.
for streaming service.
I feel like her being cast in American Horror Story and then, of course, into the Conjuring universe probably did a lot for this movie. I wonder if it would have been as easily found on streaming services if she wouldn't have, kind of risen up in the genre, because it was certainly served up for me. And she's the main character in the movie, so good move for them blindly casting her early in her career. I'm sure it has given this movie a lot more fanfare than what it would have if it was someone else that fell off the face of the planet. So
Exactly. I think she was like 20 at the time this came out. So,
yeah,
all right. Well, thank you, LC, for coming on the show tonight and
absolutely.
reviewing The Final Girls from 2015, which ages me. It makes me go like, what? 2015?
Yeah, 2015 does not seem like it's that long ago
It doesn't feel
until
like
you
that.
say 11 years.
Yes,
The early aughts don't seem that long ago until you say 20 years.
exactly, exactly. And I'm an '85 baby, so
No comment.
a long time ago for anybody listening.
No,
That
no comment.
no comment. You're in your 20s, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in your 20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen that show Younger, right? Where
Yes, I have
yeah.
seen that show. Hmm.
Well, anyway, check out my socials at the Nerd Corner everywhere. LC will eventually, hopefully, have her socials.
I'm making moves. Did you see
Making,
that? I
making,
changed
making
my
moves.
name.
Making moves.
I'm making moves. One
And
one small step at a time.
it's all set. And our next film, I believe we're going to be doing a Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah. Little Nick Cage,
So
little
yes,
Nick Coppola.
eventually we'll do Mandy one of these days, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a long movie.
Yeah, it is. No, no. At least with Willy's Wonderland does have a
Hmm.
convey dialogue. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
a quick
true. That's true.
it's a quick movie and one that I really like to talk about because I like that film in general. But this is the end of the review for the Final Girls. Thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe on YouTube. I can make better. And remember to enjoy your chimichanga.